Right, let's get Zero Mission started here. It's been a long time since I've actually touched this game, so we'll see just how rusty I end up being. As a side note, that Chozo staring at us as we select a save file looks pretty damn intimidating to me. Hey, you can call it whatever you want to, Samus. Personally, I would call this a Mission 1, but if you want to call it Zero Mission, that's what we'll call it. Part of me is a little disappointed we didn't get to see her go from the ship down to the cavern. We just skipped right to her being in the starting area, and we'll need to fill in the map to where our ship is later on. Bit of an odd way to start a game that's focused on exploration, but I suppose since this is a remake of the original game, they didn't want to change things up too much, at least at the absolute start. To be honest, the first time I ever saw Samus at all was in Super Smash Bros. 64, and my first actual Metroid game that I played was Metroid Prime 2. And I didn't do any of the 2D Metroid games until after being painfully disappointed by Metroid Other M. So sorry that at the start I seem to be moving a bit erratically. I tend to wait months if not years before doing another playthrough of a Metroid game, since part of the fun is the exploration, and I kind of lose part of that charm when playing it often enough to memorize an area like the back of my hand. Still, I've got to say, just looking at myself at this stage, it's just kind of embarrassing. Hopefully I'll work out all the kinks before we manage to run into anything genuinely challenging. Our first Chozo statue. Some people I know who enjoy the Metroid games don't like that the things guide us to the next important thing, but personally, as someone who doesn't have as much experience in this type of game, and tends to wait a long time before playing it over again, the less completely directionless exploration we have to do, the better. I know, I just said part of the fun of the series is the exploration, but if I enjoyed completely blind exploration, then I'd have probably been able to play the original and Metroid 2 to completion. It's just one of those things where there's a happy middle ground between having free rein to explore your surroundings and having a guide in hand to make you have some sense of where you need to go next. And that feeling isn't really helped by the fact that at the start of our Metroid journey, I just ran into a completely easily dodged floating bug repeatedly. At least we didn't get all that damage just yet, and it's easy enough to replenish the lost health we've taken so far. Right, we need either bombs or to extend the range of our gun to get through there. I think the first game and Zero Mission are the only games in the series that give us shorter range on the power beam at the start. Kinda have to wonder how Samus does the lower end bounty hunting before she got a power beam that could shoot further than arm's length. Not that Nintendo is likely to ever show us the kinds of smaller jobs that Samus does when she doesn't take one of the more intensive contracts from the Federation. Partly because Japan has a different idea of what bounty hunter means than America, or maybe just the word they use to describe her job isn't for such a specific job type in Japan. Good. Now we can shoot at least as far as the screen shows, and we never have to worry about that particular pickup ever again in the series, if I remember correctly. But what annoys me is the fact that if I do remember correctly, until we get the long beam, it's essentially pointless to try aiming diagonally at all. Look, I get part of the fun of each game is finding the various power-ups and making Samus more powerful as a player becomes more skillful through the game. We essentially become more powerful in two ways there. But the remake already made us a little more capable than the Samus from the original game, right from the start with the ability to crouch and shoot. Yeah, not really sure why we still needed to be limited by the range of the gun at the start. I know, I shouldn't get all that annoyed with the power-ups when we're in the first game that I'm even touching in this franchise. Still, a bit annoying, as I said before. As much as I love Metroid games, I don't replay them quite as frequently as I do games in other genres. Well, those are certainly a pair of menacing faces. We'll see how long it takes for us to run into those two major bosses. Until we beat them, that room is going to stay closed off to us. Though, considering how I've been moving at this point, I am nowhere near ready for either of them. Well, we've got a door on a lower level to try, that's something. And I suppose I should think about saving sometime soon. I think I'm maybe a little too used to games where you absolutely have to clear areas of all enemies to be able to make progress without getting slaughtered or blocked by some bullshit means. Yeah, there wasn't too much point in falling back to this statue. For some reason, I remembered that the statues that gave you upgrades could also give you hints if you came back to them, but apparently that was a misremembering. Okay, so even with the long beam, we can't hit the rocks that are off screen. Interesting to know, but that still leaves me wondering how in the hell we're supposed to get past that great door on the upper level. I'd also like some sense of why some barriers replace themselves, and some don't. Okay, what prompted that guy to drop from the ceiling when he didn't last time we were here? Not the most elegant way to handle one of those hopping bastards, but hey, we're alive and he isn't, and we managed to get through the door that was sealed. And we're getting a hint where we need to go next as well. I suppose this is one hint that people who aren't fans of the hint system in this game wouldn't be able to avoid. Sure, it doesn't fill in the map for you, but it does tell you exactly where we need to go. And even if we don't know the path, we can feel our way there as we move around. Definitely a lot more comfortable being able to shoot upwards at an angle instead of just being stuck with either directly in front of us or directly above us. Not that I'm trying to completely shit on the design of the absolute original game, which I'm not ever gonna LP. They were trying to make something that had never been seen before, and created the baseline that would make all the Metroid games that I would enjoy later on. Still, I was never a fan of the original as a kid. I was more into games like Warcraft and Full Throttle at the time. Then the N64 and PlayStation 1 became a thing, and I was converted from the PC Master Race to a true console game. Speaking of one of those, well, one of these days I really should LP Warcraft Orcs and Humans, and maybe Full Throttle at some point. Like a lot of other games from that time period, they didn't age that well, but hey, maybe the nostalgia will help make it a more entertaining ride. Hopefully one of the things I end up figuring out before too long is getting a better handle of just how high Samus can jump. It's kind of a crucial thing considering how many times we're gonna need to jump in this and every other Metroid game. Hell, I think the only person who jumps more than Samus is probably Mario himself. Right. Forgot that we don't have the ability to grab onto ledges yet in this game, and I'm pretty sure this is only one of the two-dimensional Metroid games where grabbing ledges is a power-up, like shooting missiles in the Morph Ball. Speaking of missiles, that's what we're gonna need to open that red door. Not too sure how I feel about that passenger riding on us. On one hand, he's not doing any damage, or at least none that I can see. On the other hand, if a bunch of those little bugs swarmed onto us, then they'd just be leeching health from us, and we don't have the means to get them off just yet. Right. Looks like we need bombs to be able to keep going that way. Time to head back. Okay, well that boss certainly didn't take long to introduce himself. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. The basic power beam is completely useless against bosses around here? And apparently his eyelids are durable enough that missiles just bounce off. Why do they bounce off instead of detonating on impact? And what the hell am I supposed to do when I'm out of missiles? Great. We are only just starting our journey with Samus, and I'm nearly dying to a goddamn worm. A worm that, for some reason, decided to temporarily leave, which leaves us the opportunity to heal and rearm. Humble beginnings indeed. Hold on, let me check online for the name of that worm. Diora. Well, that's not an exactly especially memorable name. For some reason, I was expecting something like Digby. Not that it really matters what the thing was named. He nearly killed us, and he's not even a boss that we absolutely have to deal with. We could potentially complete the game without ever killing him. Though, after that disaster, I'm pretty sorely tempted to hunt him down and just get some bloody payback. Dear God, it's been way too long since the last time I played Zero Mission, or really any of the Metroid games. I'm moving like I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing at all. Granted, from a narrative sense, it makes sense that Samus would be moving like a rookie in her absolute first mission. As she learns, The player learns. She becomes more powerful as the player becomes more powerful. Still, this was an embarrassing way to start things off, especially since I'm getting sick of that constant beeping trying to remind me that I'm at low health. Does that count as injury to insult or insult to injury? I can't tell. Okay, was kinda hoping that at least one of those flying bugs would have given us some health or at least some more missiles at some point. It's probably a very dangerous idea for us to keep forging ahead when we're this wounded, but frankly, we don't have that many options to heal right now. We either kill enemies and hope they drop items that will heal us, or head back to one of the Chozo statues and get a recharge from them. I distinctly remember being able to heal at save stations as well, but we either need another power-up for that as well, or it's in a different game altogether. Right, nothing in this room other than the little hives that keep pumping out bugs. And I'm pretty sure those hives are gonna respawn the next time we enter this room. Oh dear, I somehow doubt I'm in any condition for a rematch against the worm. Well, at least some of the spicy launches can heal us, I suppose that's something. Still doesn't change the fact that I'm not moving quite as smoothly as I should, but hey, baby steps. And of course, he leaves again with us still beeping in bad shape. That energy tank is very much appreciated. My ears are especially thankful. And of course, I just had to embarrass myself the instant we ran into the absolute next enemy. Still, we're not here to be the best like no one ever was. That's a different Nintendo property. The important thing is that we're having fun, even as we're stumbling around like an idiot at this point. Again, I'm amazed that I managed to get so rusty. It's like I'm coming at this completely fresh. I know I said I don't play Metroid games that often, even if I do absolutely enjoy them, but I would have thought I'd retain more of my skills. Maybe it's just the fact that there aren't that many action-oriented 2D games that I'm generally interested in. It's not like Mario or Sonic ever appealed to me as a kid until they both made the jump to 3D. Even if I had the systems and the games in my home. Hell, when I think of all of the classic NES and even Sega Genesis games that I had as a kid, the library of classics that so many people absolutely adored, the only game for either of those systems that really sucked me in completely, instead of feeling like something that just killed time when the computer wasn't available, was Godzilla, Monster of Monsters. The only 2D action title I ever got interested in was Metroid. And my first game in that series that I liked that was 2D was Zero Mission. I know, not entirely accurate to call Metroid an action-oriented title, but compared to things like Fire Emblem or various older JRPGs, you need a lot more quick button presses. Or at least faster than how I've been handling things like the worm the first 2 times we've run into it. I need to completely rebuild those instincts, since there aren't any other games that I touch that have this kind of style in 2 dimensions, and 2D games require more instant reactions than 3D ones. Ah, hello again. I know you're a fully skippable boss, but I'd rather deal with you before any of the more serious ones, just to give myself some measure of confidence and a chance to, remind myself of how to actually play this game. I don't suppose you could loan me some more missiles, could you? Right, definitely a long ways off from being able to deal with the likes of Kraid or Ridley. It's a good thing neither of them are anywhere nearby, or this would be a very short mission for Samus, and not because I'm any kind of speedrunner. Can we just get the last two missiles so we can move on? There we go. It's a little random what we get from any given enemy being killed, in my opinion. Though I suppose I should have just run all the way back to a Chozo statue for healing and ammo. Still, it's not like I'm trying to get any kind of specific grade at the end of the game or something. Regardless of if we get a good reward or not at the end, I'll just be satisfied knowing we managed to get from the beginning to the end of this part of Samus' journey. Not that I'm even fully sure how many of the Metroid games that we're gonna go through. I've already recorded 5 of the 2D games to completion, and 2 of the Metroid Primes. Haven't gotten around to Metroid Prime Hunters, Prime 3, or Other M though. And I still have no idea what to make of Federation Force. As much as Nintendo gets crap for generally sticking with what works, and not deviating much for various series, it's hard not to notice how many of the games I haven't gotten around to in this series deviate from the usual. It doesn't help that I no longer have a Wii, so I have the frustrating job of trying to emulate the controls for Prime 3 and Other M. And the Wii's control screens are not as easy to program in as a traditional controller. You have to shift it around for absolutely every game. I'll cross those bridges eventually, I'm sure. Just need a combination of time to figure things out, and motive to get the work done. And I'm sure as we go through these games that I've already recorded, I'll get motivated enough to iron out the kinks and get Other M and Prime 3 recorded. Damn, thought that missile got off just in time for a hit. Guess he's shutting that eye faster since I'm getting more of the hang of how to deal with him. Deorum Digby, you will meet your end before this clip is done. I've taken far too much time trying to make sure of a foe this caliber is dead, and in terms of power-ups, the reward isn't going to be anything especially great. Still, going to feel very satisfied when that bloody worm is finally dead. That's got to mean something. I'd ask what those menacing purple shapes in the background are supposed to be, but I've got the distinct feeling I probably would be better off not knowing. Great! Just had to drop right into the easily avoidable acid. Wonder how many other easily avoidable obstacles I'm gonna embarrass myself against. Not that it matters all that much. After all, we've managed to stay alive, and embarrassed by the live is a solid way to keep making progress. Though continuing to run right into the slow-moving, spiky bugs isn't all that conducive to our health right now. definitely hope nobody popped in here expecting to see some amazing gameplay footage. Right, too much to hope that the worm would stay just as damaged in each encounter and we could wear him down through all of them. There we go! Finally took the big guy down! Not too sure why his eye decided to spin like that as the rest of him blew up, but hey, we got a power-up from it. Unfortunately, the charge beam isn't all that useful in this particular game. It is far more useful in the Metroid Prime games, though. A charged shot is going to have the same effect on bosses around here as a regular power beam. And given how fast a lot of these smaller enemies can be around here, a charged shot is just asking for someone to hit us while our weapon is prepping for a heavier blow. Still, in my mind, it's about as iconic as the Morph Ball. It's not the attack's fault that this game isn't a time when it can shine. Just like it's not the suit's fault that we've been letting ourselves take so much damage that we could have easily avoided. We'll get more comfortable with it as we go. Anyway, let's get back on track to heading for that objective point that the previous statue pointed to us. Yeah, we've got a long way to go before we can kick the ass of the pirates on this planet. Hell, we are hard-pressed just to deal with the local wildlife. Considering this used to be a Chozo world, and they were a supposedly peaceful species, how the hell did they manage to coexist with wildlife this bloody aggressive? Or was it less aggressive back in their time? I know this is our first Chozo world that we've landed on, but still, considering how many of the worlds in the Metroid franchise used to belong to the Chozo, and how dangerous they are even without pirate intervention, I can't help wondering if people's memories of them being peaceful are just nostalgia goggles. Of course, if I said that to Samus herself, I'd probably learn just how easily she could beat the shit out of me without her suit on. Probably a better idea to save right now than just head directly to the next objective point. We've had a rather eventful first clip, even if technically speaking we haven't accomplished all that much just yet. That should be all for today. We'll see how much progress we manage to make next time.